In this video, I'm going to do a demonstration of how to use the selection tool in InDesign. I think if I go through it kind of slowly, it'll show you a few things to make sure that you're just using it carefully when you go through it, and so it doesn't start to drive you insane from seeming to just click the wrong thing one time and then you can't figure out what's happening. Anyway, see if this helps you. So first, what I'm going to do is place an image on the page because that's what we were working on in class. So in my file here, I'm going to go to File. I'm going to go to Place. I think this is the best way to do it. I'm going to select my protesters photo and hit Open. Now what you wind up with is, I called this in class the other day a loaded cursor. In other words, your cursor, which is moving as I move my mouse around, this little cursor is moving with it. And I say that it's loaded because the image that I just selected is loaded onto the cursor and it's waiting for me to tell it what to do with it, right? So there's two things you can do. One, and I typically don't advocate doing this, but it could be helpful for you somewhere along the line. With your loaded cursor, if you just double click the mouse anywhere on the page, it's going to make the image on the page and make it pretty big. So watch this, double click. And now my image is on the page. What I have found is that sometimes the image that it automatically makes on the page for you is bigger than I want it to be, and sometimes it's hard to deal with. What I like to do, and so I'm going to do an undo. So on my Mac keyboard, this is Command Z. On your PC keyboard, it'll be Control Z. Undo. Now I got my loaded cursor again, right? So what I typically like to do is I kind of know what size roughly I want the photo to be. So I'm going to achieve that by drawing the image onto the page at that size. And so I'm going to take my mouse, I'm going to click and hold the left mouse button. And it's important that you click and hold, don't double click, just click and hold it down. So click and hold, it'll do this. Now I'm going to drag it. I'm just going to drag it diagonally across the page. And you'll notice it does not matter exactly how I drag it, as long as I'm dragging it away from the point that it started at. And this rectangle that it's going to draw will be in the proper proportion for the image. Okay, so anytime I let go of it, okay, now that image is placed on the page and it is in proportion, meaning that the image has not been stretched horizontally or vertically, right? At whatever size that I drew it, okay? So, but what I wanted to focus on here, now that I've got an image on the page, is the use of this guy that I'm moving around. That's your selection tool. So over here on your toolbar, it's the black one. If I say the black arrow, I mean the selection tool. So you'll notice when I'm going to click on the white here just for a second, okay? So I've only got one object on the page and it is not selected. And you can tell that it's not selected because those corner points are not visible, okay? And it's out here on the left right now and it's moving around. You'll notice that the black arrow is just that, it's an arrow by itself, okay? If I hover that arrow over any object on the page, notice how my black arrow is still a black arrow, but it's got a little dot next to it, like a little square dot underneath the lower right part of the arrow. So that dot indicates that you are pointing at an object that could be selected if you want to select it. So when I click this photo, I'm going to one click, not a double click, just one click to select it. Couple things happened. Now that black dot has turned into a little rectangle with points on it, and that is showing me that I've got an object on the page selected. The other way you can tell that you've got an object selected is that when it's selected, the corner points are turned on. So we've got a corner point here, we've got a middle point on the side, a corner point, a middle point, a corner point, a middle point, and another corner point. So these are the things that you can use to reshape objects, but we're not going to do that right now. All I want to focus on is the use of the selection tool. So right now that selection tool's got the little rectangle guy showing up. You also notice this circle in the middle of the page, okay? So two different things happen depending on what's going on with your cursor. When your cursor is the black arrow with the little rectangle underneath it, That means that at this point, if I click and hold on the image, if I click and hold on this object, that it's going to move the whole object. Think about that little rectangle as being the object symbol. I'm doing an object move right now. So if I click and hold anywhere on this photo that's not inside that circle, that's important. If I click and hold anywhere on this photo, this object, as long as it's not in that circle, it'll move the whole thing. So I'm going to click and hold, and I'm going to drag it, and you'll notice it's moving. Okay. All we're doing is moving the image from one place to another. I did not click and hold the corner pins. That's going to do something completely different. Okay. That is going to cause a completely different action because you'll notice the icon changed with my cursor, right? But anyway, when the little rectangle's there, we're moving the object. All right, if you hover over that circle in the middle, the arrow turns into a hand tool. And what the hand tool is doing is it's not going to move the object. It's going to move the image around inside this object box. It's going to move the image around inside the frame. The frame will stay in one place. The image inside the frame will move. So when the hand tool is showing up, if I click, hold, and drag, notice now that my photo, it just slid. Now I've got my image tool, my selection tool back, my black arrow. So now if I click and hold, the whole thing moves, right? But I don't want the whole thing to move. I want the photo to move. So there's the hand again. You hold it over the circle and there's the hand. Clicking and holding, the image moves inside the box. Okay. Put it back where it was, where we started. The other thing you can do is if you've got the black arrow here, you've got the selection tool is what's showing up, and you double click on that, what happens? Double click. Now it turned into the hand tool. Now I can put the hand on any part of the photo, not just the circle in the middle, but anywhere in the photo. And I can click, hold, and drag and do the same thing. So I'm going to click and hold and drag. And now we're moving the image around again inside the box. The box is not moving. The image is moving. Okay, so now my image is all messed up. It's not displaying in the frame correctly, and I want to get it back. I could just manually move it back. Okay, but instead of doing that, one thing you can do is use the fitting tool to redo that. So here's my fitting tools. They're showing up here. Okay, and so the one that I'm going to choose is fit content to frame. So I want to put the content, the image that's in there, back inside the frame where it was supposed to be. So if I click that, then it snaps it back in, and so the frame is snapped up right to the photo again. Okay. Okay, so we've looked at the couple things. So we've got my hand tool is still showing up. If I double click on this again, it goes back to the selection tool. So I've got my black arrow, moves the photo. Okay. Hand tool moves the image inside the box. Double clicking again, I've got my black arrow selection tool again. And so we've covered all the different aspects of the selection tool.